Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary, distinguished guests, welcome to Ridiculous, the Life of a Clown.
Okay, going live in 15 seconds.
Oh God! Oh
Serious clown! Bumblebee, bumblebee, bumblebee.
5,
You should have told us that
3,
20 seconds
2.
in.
Silence!
We are live, people.
Oh my gosh. Hello everyone, welcome to Ridiculous Roundtable, a podcast broadcast conversation of clowns. Today, I, Gherkin Picklewater, am joined by
Natasha Kaluza,
Steve Smith,
Amelia Von Brunt.
Ross Travis,
Jamie Coventry.
and we're going to talk about a number of things. But first off, let's have a brief recap of what kind of clown are you? That's an answer.
Oh man.
JD, what kind of clown are you?
Quickly define yourself.
popcorn.
Wow. What kind of clown?
What do you do?
There are many different kinds of clowns, and I am one of them. What do I do? Totally unprepared.
public speaking.
You do.
I entertain. I inspire play. In the corporate setting, or in a library setting, or I'm looking at you, microphone. But yes, children of all ages. And am I missing anything? No, don't look at you. Okay.
Oh, you do medical clowning?
I know I don't do. I mean, I've performed in convalescent homes occasionally, and I love them old people. So. Young people and old people, but I don't necessarily. I'm not part of the medical clown project.
I do medical clown. I do medical clowning, Buffon, and I'm a circus performer as well. Yeah.
And you're Ross.
And I'm Ross.
And you're an acrobat?
Yes, an acrobat as well. So and then I have a company where I try to combine all my favorite aspects of circus, clown, Buffon, physical theater, everything that I've learned in my life into one cohesive whole. Yeah.
It's hard to define it. I would say if I had to, I would identify more as a character clown. So, bringing aspects of physical theater with elements of clown in it. I also am a medical clown, which is an entirely different realm. Mm-hmm. Almost not even in the same room, I feel like. So, the fact that they share the word clown is interesting to me because it's, couldn't be more different. And then also in the past couple years, I've been getting into circus clowning in combination with emceeing and hosting as a character clown.
Mr. Smith?
Hello. Well, I would say character clown would fit as well. My path was a little different because I sort of started with Ringling Brothers and this huge arena-style clowning. And in my very first week, I knew that I knew nothing. I cannot juggle. I can't ride a unicycle. I have no circus skills, so I thought I'd better be funny. So I watched Otto Griebling, who was a beautiful tramp clown, who had lost his voice due to cancer, so he mimed everything all the time. And I just watched this guy would go out into Ring 2 at the end of the the warm-up period, and with 2 pie tins would captivate, 5, 6, 7,000 people. Mm-hmm. And I would just watch him every day and go, okay, I don't know enough. So I left Ringling and went to Mexico and studied mime with my mime teacher and blah, 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 blah. Got my acting degree at the Goodman School of Drama. And the reason for all of that is that I think, as a storyteller, I wanted to be able to communicate non-verbally a vignette that had a beginning and a middle and an end, sort of a sense of completion. And that's what I did. And when I was the advanced clown for Ringling, I did all of the radio and TV and press things, and also medical clowning before it was a thing, back in the 70s, early 70s.
And there's a number of medical clowning companies here, and I mean, you guys are all the Medical Clown Project, but there's Clown Zero, I think SF Clown School does their own stuff, so there's a number of companies just in San Francisco, and most major cities have a few. What kind of clown are you?
Indeed.
I'm not definable. Can't box me in with a label. And that's the way I'm going to keep it.
I think that one thing that I kind of hang on to is that quote that a good clown is born at 50. And since I'm not 50 yet, I don't really know yet.
So you're just not a good clown.
I don't know. Am I?
I'm 50.
I would throw in you're both Jamie and Natasha, since you didn't say who you were when you were talking to anybody. Heavily
They'll tell by our
music
voices.
oriented in a lot of what you do.
Yes, music and dance. For sure, dance for me is a key important
So
part of my
What do
clowning.
you think that is about the age thing? Because I've heard that before. Too.
I've never heard that.
Oh, what it is that
Not caring
before, yeah, exactly. Before
Oh.
50, you're afraid to fail, and after 50, you realize that it's all about the failures. And so you look forward to learning more from
You
them.
relax too.
There's an experience. Yeah, sorry. I
You
get
you don't have to go out every moment and try to prove yourself. If you settle into what you know and trust that, it makes the audience at ease. Nobody says anything. It's sort of like ephemeral smoke. You can't really hold on to it, but you know it when you see it and you feel it.
So it's claiming
I
your
say this
right.
because I'm an old man now. So.
I was going to say there's no one here over 50, so how would we know?
Clear!
It's an interesting conversation because that has been a huge conversation for me in my work recently, where the fear of performance and all those anxieties of right before going on and what happens to me and the story that I have and the things that I try to do to calm myself down, and that intense fear of judgment, negative judgment, and how that gets in our own way of play and exploration and listening, and how it's just your own worst enemy as a clown. And I've been I think that is the number one thing that will hold me back continuously from being my best clown, and so it's something I've really been thinking about, of how do you let go of that? How do you just relax into it and have ease in the play? And I think
for me, it's I don't feel like I'm a clown. I don't feel like I qualify. And that makes it really hard for me to perform as a clown. It makes it really hard to go out there and keep doing the things that I know kill, that I know an audience is just going to love, but it just doesn't feel sincere to go out there and do that and claim to be that kind of person.
So you're worried about claiming the title of clown, or
I don't know. I don't think it's that defined. I think it's a little more esoteric, but just doing clown when not being a clown seems difficult for me. And of course, I do consider myself a clown at the same time that I don't consider myself a clown.
Well, I agree. Just as a senior citizen now, I think Jamie hit on this. It's not about losing your fear. It's how do you focus that fear. I think if you do not get butterflies before you go out for a performance, there is something seriously wrong with you. I mean, it doesn't mean there's a magical day where audience, yes, I can give them, take them, it doesn't matter. Take them or leave them. Every performance has to be new to you, but you learn. I feel that this time and experience gives you the confidence, not cockiness, the confidence to walk out on that stage and let whatever happens happen, and just deal with it. So don't worry, you'll be okay.
Okay.
Don't be afraid. We got lots of people here to take care of you.
So to get weirdly esoteric again, what for you defines what a clown is? What is a clown? Because I think we all, and I'm probably the most judgmental of anyone in this room, but we all have points where we go, yeah, that doesn't count. That's not clown. That's something else. That is a very lovely grandparent wanting to entertain their community, but that's not clown. That is any number of things that we may or may not feel fit into the format. So what is clown to you? What defines it, Siri?
Wikipedia says clowns are comic performers who employ slapstick or similar styles of physical comedy, often in a mime style. There you go. Could be anything.
Mine's not great on radio, however.
No, mime isn't great on radio.
I think for me, especially going along with that definition, the clown to me is a mind of the clown, so that it's not about the gags or it's not about the gags, but it's a real entity that is innocent and has its own set of logic, but it's a logic that's followable. So a clown to me is not stupid. A clown may be slow, but it's that the clown is real, is a real thing that moves through the world, and I think the purpose for that is to inspire, to have the most the clown is alive. At Del Arte, Ronlyn Foreman told us that after a clown show, the audience should run screaming into the streets, weeping, saying, "I want to be as alive as the clowns." And I think that really hits it on the head for me, that it's a real thing. It's a real entity.
So, Steve, what do you feel?
A little gaseous, actually. It's about... Thank you. That was not me. You would know me.
It was.
Jamie.
Sitting next to him, and it was him.
I am somewhat of a walking Hallmark card, so I'm pretty obvious sometimes because I wear emotions right here when I'm working as a clown. To me, it's again, I go back to storyteller. I had the opportunity to work with some animators, and one in particular, and he was all about the line. And as a performer, it's the same thing. You were talking about dance, Natasha. The line when you're in space, your canvas is the space, and you fill that up with the line of your body. Line and form, form and content, content and character, character, story, story, life. And that's how I approach everything I do. I don't think of things as gags. There are bits that I put in a story, but it's a vignette, it's a story. Yeah. Skits are something I did in 9th grade. So my job is to spread joy. That's how I feel about clowns. Well, and the hobbyists, good for them. I don't think it's my place to judge.
Do you consider Buffon to be clown?
Well,
I consider it part of it.
I feel like there's a spectrum of humor or senses of humor, and there's bouffons at one end and clowns at the other end.
So diametrically opposed, but on the same coin.
Yeah, but I find myself in most, there are people, and I think it's all individual. Like, each individual is going to have their different kind of sense of humor. And for me, I feel like I fit in the middle there somewhere. I've gone far to the extreme of Buffon satire and far to the extreme of clown, and I don't fit on either sides of those, so I've in the middle there somewhere. And on that spectrum, clown is human folly and has a lateral relationship to the audience, so it's the feedback between the performer and the audience. And human folly, you're trying to get the audience to laugh at things that they recognize in you. And then Buffon is a vertical relationship, which is the heavens, the earth, poetry, and shit, and muck, and their relationship with the audience is they are laughing at the audience, so they're playing with this and showing the audience a reflection of how they are, what they see out in society, in order for the audience to be able to see themselves and have catharsis, I guess.
Oh.
I could not hear what Ross just said.
I'm just gonna. I think farts
So
are funny.
I've heard it repeated a number of times, and I find it personally offensive that a clown is a human cartoon. I find that
You find that offensive?
I find that deeply it runs almost directly contrary to my feelings about clown. That's saying a clown is just slapstick. That's what that says. That's what they're saying is a clown is just physical bits. It is. But you're shaking your head, which no one can see on the radio. So please disagree.
Watch more cartoons. The dot in the line. There's not a real character in it.
I love that
There's a dot
cartoon.
in the line.
Yeah, I love that cartoon.
High Note. And it's about a musical staff that comes back home drunk and he keeps falling down the musical staff paper and they are trying to play it. The characters in animation that ring true and resonate are the same qualities of all of us as human beings. We resonate with something in our audience and with ourselves that is genuine and authentic. We have differing opinions.
Those exist, but they aren't the breadth of animation or the breadth of clown.
I don't think it's the breadth, but I think yes and. I mean, I think there's both. Clowns can act in a stylized manner, which is sort of like a cartoon, like a live, a three-dimensional cartoon. But I think what maybe clowns have that cartoons don't have is that connection with the audience, and because the clown, I think, is best live.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I also often wish in my work when I'm devising things, I'm like, God damn it, I wish I was a cartoon. I wish I could just bend right here and, transform in this way physically. But it's also interesting that something that you disagree with as your definition of clown is offensive to you, because that's something I've been thinking about coming out of Del Arte after graduating. I felt like I understood and I knew what clown was, and everything that is not in that. I'm not saying that this is you. I'm saying this was my experience, is that I felt like, oh, that's not clown. That's not this. That's clown with a K, and that's hashtag clown life, and it's just oversaturated of like clown. And me feeling like, no, it's this deeper thing that people are not understanding. And as I've learned more, and as I've learned professionally out and kind of like gotten out of the school of thought, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't actually know. And the more that I realize that it is not something that I think there is one definition of. And I think that I just have let go of my grasp of clown, realizing that it's not something I own. It's not something that I truly will ever, I think, wake up and be like, yep, got it.
Yep.
Nothing else to learn. There's no other aspects of this.
Students
like, I did
of
it.
Life, baby.
Nailed it.
Right.
Like,
because I think when you start to do that, you start to, like, I've met individuals in the community who have their idea of what it is and what it isn't, and when they start to shut themselves off to something that they might not see as clown, but then that could be an exciting new thing that is popping out of one aspect of the genre that is like gonna be the next like incredible thing.
Yeah, I think my issue with it is that it seems so limiting to that saying that this art form that has such breadth and such depth and so much texture to it was being reduced to such a simple concept as that it is a living clown, but it is just a living clown.
Can we agree that, like dance category, a lot of subcategories there: jazz, tap, ballet, modern, folk, clowning, street clowning, theatrical clowning, rodeo clowning. I have great admiration for those.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord!
So
God,
awesome.
yeah.
Ross, you could be more man. So it encompasses all of that, and it has to, because if we are segregating this person or that person, in a way it's sort of like gender identity, or clown identity. We are all of those things if we make ourselves available to it. I don't think sitting in the judgment chair is a good idea. Just me.
Yeah, I'm actually glued to it. I can't. I can't move around without it. It's a mobility device for me.
Get the chains
But a big thing that came up when I was an early clown and young clown, a long discussion that we had, is that there's a specific street clown here in San Francisco who I think he just does balloons. His makeup is really like the best that he can do, and we had a big discussion. We had a big discussion. Like, I think that guy is more of a clown than most of the people I went to school with, because he's doing it for a living. He's going out there and doing the fucking work all the time, and I give him far more credit towards being a clown than I give to myself, because he's out there doing the work. And for me, that's a big part of it. Being out there and doing the work, committing to the idea, making this art happen and keeping it alive is a more fundamental definition of what the art is. Than, I mean, you are defining what the art is because you're the one actually doing it.
But we do it in many different ways.
Yeah.
I don't always do it with a red nose. Sometimes I write, sometimes I direct, sometimes I produce, but I'm wearing lots of different hats to get back to the thing I love the most.
But you must wear a hat.
You must wear in order to be funny. But you know, come on, San Francisco is a world all to its own. As far as physical comedy and clowning, it's a rich, diverse place. I mean, you've taken over the town and the Bay Area. I love it. There is so much richness here, and I think having conversations that talk about these things is a very good idea.
I've been toying lately with the idea of clown in the archetypal sense. So just like there's, the warrior and the victim and all of those things, that clown is an archetype that we can invite into ourselves and to play within it. It's like an energy that we bring in and play with.
That tremendous appeal to me. There's so much of what interests me and motivates me about clown, not about me as a clown, but about clown as an art form, is its representation in indigenous cultures, and how all these different cultures have their own clown archetype, who primarily, for the most part, throughout all of them, exists to reinforce taboo and to say, you're not supposed to do that, by doing it openly and in a big dress and being very wacky about it. Like, everyone look at me, this is the thing you're not supposed to do. So yeah, I love the idea of clown as an archetype. So
there's this guy, who's that guy that he's been doing Facebook Live, the guy that's like in Central Park with there's this incredible guy that sets up like on Facebook Live, sets up his camera every day, and
he gets into a little bathing suit and he just plays for hours. I mean, he has props and he just throws shit on the street. I mean, sometimes it's more planned than others. Like, one time he had like 100 fake realistic pigeons, and he was like flapping around, and it's just,
and people are walking by, and it's just like totally, I imagine the experience is like people do this walk every day, and then all of a sudden this shaman is there, and like even that little break in their like routine is like, I'm sure it's very awakening. I can imagine it can be like magical,
But is it a clown?
Yeah.
How long does he do this for?
I have to
hours.
Oh my god.
I mean, he streams it. It's really incredible. But all of this is really interesting to me too, because here in the States, the word and the label of clown, I've found in self-producing and touring my solo show or touring in general, can be the death of my work and my sales, because I think there has been the word is spread around very easily, and someone can put on whiteface and they are now a clown. And so you see a lot of work in fringe festivals and theater festivals and stuff like that, where the term is thrown around so easily that now people hate it. People don't want anything to do with it. I've found in touring my own work, it actually would close people off to the idea of seeing my work if I even used clown to describe it at all. Which, you know, for my solo show in the Blue of Evening, I would not call a clown show, but there are definitely qualities and aspects of it that come from the realm of clown. And as I was sales pitching it, I was learning over time, okay, don't even use that term, because you want to invite people in and then show them that, oh, you enjoyed this? Oh, well, clown was an aspect of it. But then you go to Canada, and I would tour to the Edmonton Clown Festival or Vancouver Fringe Festival, and they were eating it up there. They couldn't get enough of clown. They were like, and there's different styles there too, like the pachinko clown, which is really not prominent as far as I'm aware, at least in California. So I think it's interesting talking about the term and the definition, because I really over the years have kind of pushed the label away from myself. Not that I don't love it and want to continue to learn and study it, but that it doesn't always behoove me as far as like being a producer of my own work.
I'd say John Gilkey is one of, in my opinion, again, Mr. Judgment in his chair, one of the greatest living clowns, at least in the Western world. And he doesn't market his stuff as clown anymore. It is the Idiot Workshop, and at the Hippo, he teaches LA people in the movie and television industry and improv people clown, and he just does not market it as that. He does not call it clown.
Yeah.
And I mean that hate, that clown hate goes back at least to the 80s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was. Do you say it goes farther, Steve?
Yes.
From the dawn of time.
I remember very little, but so doing a show in the 70s, one-man show, same issue.
Really? In the 70s?
And they didn't have people
The
dressing
70s?
In Chicago, way back then. Yeah, way back then. So in Chicago, it was a tough sell.
70s.
Did you call it theatrical clowning? Did you call it? Did you use the word at all? We did, and it was a mistake then. It was a mistake.
Wow.
It's physical comedy, obviously.
Yes, that's what.
I just started adopting dark physical comedy.
But I have always felt guilty about abandoning the title, because I am so proud of.
Someone hip in 20 or 30 years is going to bring it back into the mainstream, but it's going to take.
Well, that's going to be
long.
us. I mean, we have to. In everything we do, we need to bring the respect. And
I don't think I'm going to bring it back in my 70s.
I think that most audiences. I mean, come on, a 6-year-old knows if he's being condescended to. So if you see somebody who's a balloon twister and not very good makeup, that's one thing. You see somebody who's really good, you just know. You don't know why, perhaps, but you know that's really good.
Mm-hmm. But to get them into the door to see that,
and that's the conundrum, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What do you say?
And I feel the same way. The guilt of like. Of letting something that I love so much go, but I'm like,
you got to pay the bills.
Gotta make that money.
We need to start calling it by clown in a different language. So we're still calling it clown, but no one knows that.
No, I really.
Payasos. Payasos todos.
Yeah, I think physical comedy is a great way to get people in the door, and.
Well, for me too, it's like it's a word, and I. Like words can sometimes have baggage, and like just because you're not using a word doesn't mean that you know what you're doing, and it for me sometimes there's a lot of fun in exposing people to things that they don't even know what they're being exposed to.
I think it's a big conversation these days.
Clowns that like to expose people. Just letting everyone know that.
Being subversive,
Okay, so this we've pretty much covered already, but why do you do it? Why do you do it?
Why do you do it? What drives you?
Compelled. I'm compelled to do it.
Why? How?
I knew in the 9th grade. I grew up watching Looney Tunes, and I could do that. I could do what they were doing, and I had fun doing it, and I got a reaction from people. I got acceptance immediately, and as an insecure little kid and an insecure senior citizen, I still want that approval and acceptance. But I have fun doing it, and I feel drawn to the work. I feel like every time I try to step away or go do something else, it pulls me right back. So at some point you have to listen to the voice inside. And he's silent right now, apparently, the voice.
What about you, Jamie?
What the world needs now is the clown, sweet clown. I do it, to bring joy into the world, on the planet. We need more of this, and playfulness, inspire play. I think I was actually thinking about this on the way here. Is like, what's the practical use of clowning in our everyday life? And I think there's something to be said for reframing some of the things that are very stressful as a game, and finding ways to play in everyday life can relieve stress. I think that's what the clown's job has always been, is to let people laugh at themselves and loosen up a little bit and have some fun. Although, I mean, it's not all about having fun. I think it's I don't know how it's not all about having fun, but but I mean, it's not a frat party. There's a difference here, people. Clowning's very serious business.
I do it for all the air quotes wrong reasons. I don't do it for any of these happy, friendly, give each other a pat on the back reasons at all. I do it to make myself feel stronger. I do it to make myself feel whole and grounded. But to have control, I'm taking control of these people. And I'm deciding how they feel about me. I'm making the decision for them through my behavior as to how they're going to feel about me. I am in some way in control of this crowd of angry strangers. And I am refocusing their energy in the direction I want to be. And maybe I have a message. You know, my main performance right now is kind of message driven in its way, which is that it's okay for me to be fat and naked, and you should be more tolerant of BDSM. Those are mainly the main two messages of my clown right now.
I want you at my kid's birthday party.
But it's about me. It's not about making the world a happier
that's
place.
Just selfish giving, though.
No, but if you're trying to get people to accept you, you're trying to make the world a better place. I mean, you're trying to make people open up to.
And that's a part of it too. I mean, I feel driven to do clown a huge part because I feel sincerely that is my purpose, that's why I was put here, that this is a gift that I have to inspire other people, and if I can do nothing else but make other people feel good, then that is why I'm here. And finding medical clown has been an even deeper avenue for that, of something that I didn't even know was a part of the reason why I'm doing the clown, which is making deep human connections. That at the root of everything we do in this world is a sense of wanting to connect, of wanting to hear stories that make us feel human and heard, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, see, I would throw everything I just said out the window to be doing medical clowning. I mean, that has so much appeal to me.
Well, I'm doing it to be rich and famous.
Yes!
Thank you. I also feel like I feel like it's some kind of a divinely pulled, that I'm compelled to do the work. And the funny thing for me is that in my actual life, I am horrendously anxious, totally controlling, just rigid and serious and unplayful and shy. I'm like the opposite of everything that I do on stage. And it's there. I'm trying. I think that it's like the goddess's way, this clowning of trying to get me to bring that into my real life so that I can breathe and be a better person.
I am way more confident and playful when I'm up there naked on stage than I am in my real life.
Yeah, it's strange. It's a strange.
But I like hearing that, Natasha, because just, that's an outlet for you to get that breath, to get that play, and that doesn't mean that, I don't think anyone could physically or emotionally handle being on and being a clown at all times.
Right.
That takes so much out of you.
Exhausting.
Yeah.
But Jamie doesn't. He does it in a different way. He does it in a different way.
Of course he does.
He's the mellowest clown. But he's mellow in life. He's so easygoing.
But that's why it works. That's why the duo is...
So
if there was two Jamies, it wouldn't be as funny.
Boring.
Yeah.
Boring. Please do that.
Although two uptight Natashas might be really funny together.
Yeah.
Against one Jamie?
Yeah.
Trio. Classic uncle.
Well, I'm interested in interactive theater, and I think that's what brought me to it, and playing characters, and getting people, being like really connected with audiences and getting them to laugh. That there's no better feeling than that for me. And losing myself into a character that's other than myself, and then being able to get like my hands on the people and like get them sweat on them and like cry on them and like make them have an experience with an audience that does not have a fourth wall to it at all, Yeah.
Can I just say that, I've had the pleasure of getting to work a little bit with everybody in the room here. I'm not, saw your striptease. Funny as all get out. Fun as all get out. Everyone has their own style, but the dedication to your craft is what's so impressive. And there's so much more to be mined in the Bay Area. The deepest I went was with Amelia working over a long period of time on her show, basically by abandoning her.
So true.
I had just started working at a circus center, and she was wrapping up a residency, and it wasn't going so well. And she asked if she could have an extension. It was granted, and we met, and and she wanted me to write it for her. Basically, you never said that, but I said no. I'll come back, and I left you alone, and I felt horrible. But look what you did. Look what you did. I think it would have ruined everything if I had spoon-fed or said, here's how you should do this. You discovered all of those things when you had a little more confidence and that we weren't going to bite. It was a pleasure, a true pleasure with all of you.
So complete. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add one thing, and that is the absurdity, which has always appealed to me. And just because the world is absurd and this place we are is absurd, in the end, it's like there's pain and sorrow and laughter and love and hate, and it's ridiculous. So I think that's what appeals to me.
So going off what Steve just said, not to completely.
Sorry, no, I totally.
So how do you deal with that? You're working with a director, someone you have a great deal of respect for, and they give you a line reading or a gag or something like beat for beat. Like I can't do it. Like I was working with the clown I have the second most respect for in the entire world, and he gave me.
You've rated.
There's Bill Irwin. There's Bill Irwin. There's John Gherkin. There's a bunch of other people, and then I won't start naming names. Their names on the bottom of the list too.
But did they have like pieces of Velcro on the back? So
move around. Going down. But so he's giving me like exact beats, and I can't do that. I can't turn around and regurgitate beats that a director has given me. I have to find some way to reinterpret, even if what they're giving me is better than what I'm coming up with. I can't just do their beats. How do you guys deal with that? Have you been in that situation? How do you deal with that?
That's interesting, because I think about a year ago, I went from a gig where it was very open and the director is very much lets you develop the material, and then he shapes it or molds it or says try this, very kind of hands off, and I like that because I love making my own stuff and I love experimenting in front of the audience, failing. Oh, that bit didn't work, I think that's important and necessary. And then I went to a gig right after that where I was still playing in that way and thought that I could try new things in front of the audience, and that was not the case. And I got a talking to about that, and I was like, oh, so I became more clear and know those two. I still work with those two different people and love working with them, and I know that situation, and I know for the future that now when I go into a situation I need to have a talk or find out what the expectations are, because there's different ways of playing, or a director how they want you to be, you know.
Anyone else have an experience with this? We got about 4 minutes left on the live broadcast, and we'll keep going for a few minutes after that. I got a couple more questions, but
We haven't saved the world yet.
I think for me that I have realized for myself that there is a time for the director to come into the room, and that is not for me at the beginning. That I need to have a very clear voice as a deviser and actor and poet to have, there's something I want to say, and there are provocations in the way that I want to play this, and that I need to be in the shit for many, many hours of wading through the shit and devising and playing and making a lot of stuff that is not the thing, and then coming to a director at a point where I have a proposal and this is what I want, and finding a marriage between a director who can hear that, and then come, you know, Steve was really wonderful to work with me on my Cirque du Soleil audition, because after I had already made the piece, I came to Steve, and he helped me write it like music as far as beats go. And the Commedia dell'arte side of me, which I love Commedia, I love the formulas of mask work, I love the beats, and I think that there's a point when if you can get a director that can help you polish those beats of like when to take, when to look, you know, all of that stuff, I totally get off on that stuff. So I think that there's a marriage for me, but I have had an experience with someone who came in, and I unknowingly asked them to come in too early, and the thing was still not ready, and they were having me do bits and gags that kind of had nothing to do with what I was interested in working on, and it took me a while, and the confidence of my own voice as a clown and as a creator to be like, actually, thank you very much, but I'm not ready. And this is not how I want to make the piece, and I know I can hear that it's not right. I don't know what it is yet, but and then only until I was, you know, abandoned and alone could I find the thing, and then have someone come in and help, you know. So I think a director with clown is very important, but for me, at the right time.
You talking about this makes me think about in partnerships this exists too, because Amelia and I work together as partners, performance partners,
and lovers.
And lovers.
Clowns do that.
And
And you
she,
guys are looking
like,
for a
she approaches the work from the Commedia perspective, I think, and I approach it like, I'm realizing this listening to you talk right now, that she likes the precise takes and stuff like that, and then I'm kind of just more of a mess. I like
Which
improvising.
is opposite in our real life.
I like improvising. I like trying new things. So
do I.
So did she. But I'm like realizing that you know, like you're always navigating like different working styles and.
But the comedian, what I'm trying to say is all of that stuff, the precision has to come after.
Yes. Yeah,
so
totally.
that I don't want to be playing, because then that is stifling.
Yeah.
That's stifling the devising process.
But then after that, then there's also play can happen again. I feel like once you've got it polished and you've got
But you need the foundation to work on, right? You need to have created your own structure that you're gonna hang shit off of, and then you can experiment with hanging shit.
We
off
have
of
a
it.
friend who's bounced in and out of Cirque du Soleil because of this, because he's the clown, and so he thought he could just go screw around with the audience, and then the director was like, no, this is what you found the gold, stick with your gold. And then he just would screw around with the audience again because he was a clown, he wanted to play, and so I think he got fired, and then he got rehired, and I don't know, that's his story to tell, but
they have
that
I think they have a red light that get, like, for the clown. I've heard this. Someone was in a show, and if they go over the time, the red light starts going.
Right, you gotta know your time.
It's like,
The giant hook.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's that play versus, I don't know. because in that regard, the director's already they've played. Then the director said, "Okay, this is what we're going to do," and then the clown spirit wants to play more after
Exactly,
that. So
yeah.
Yes, but that harkens to training. Some people are naturally gifted and it seems effortless. Very few. Most of us need some kind of training, some kind of foundation that Abraham was talking about. Wherever it comes from, whatever speaks to you, that sets you free, to give you form and shape. And I could never do what Ross does in a million years. He has no fear when he's on stage. He's got a lot of broken things when he's on stage where you have a paramedic standing by at all times. But I admire your ability to take the leap of faith every time you go out there. But that also gives me confidence. Well, if he can go break his finger, then I can go out and break my heart. Whatever.
And on that note,
there's no net for the clown.
So, completely changing the topic again. What? Because you've all done contract work, you've all done piecework, you've all been hired to do a thing in a place, or have put on your own shows. What makes for a bad gig? What makes for a bad performance?
I was just going to say really quick, and if you are one of those people, you can contact us at countryinclusive.com.
Well, put the plug in.
Not a bad club. Not a bad gig, but what makes for a bad gig?
Yeah.
So many things make for a bad gig.
Well, okay, that's covered.
Be more specific when you say gig, I guess.
A bad performance, a bad
job.
When you have to go be a clown, and it goes bad. What makes it go bad?
Like a one-off, or
there's many different types of gigs, and there's many different types of bad. So I'll give you one. We had a great gig, a wonderful gig in Japan, and it was wonderful. And we had 5 sets a day, 20-minute sets, and they would be in various different places throughout this park. And then sometimes it would be in this little food court
where they had
stage. noodles and whatnot.
A noodle court.
Right. And at the 8 o'clock show, it was great. Everyone was out there eating food. And the 5:30 show, there was maybe one person or two people, and that became the 5:30 Soul Crusher, because you just go out there and it's like it's worse than a rehearsal, because a rehearsal you're inside and you have that expectation. But so I'd say one thing that makes for a bad gig is no audience.
Bad tech makes for a bad gig.
Bad tech.
If you've ever choreographed something to music and it doesn't happen, oh my goodness! What do you do? You have to keep going, and you're making eyebrow acting to the booth, like start again, or take it over. That is the killer. So if you can afford to take your own crew with you. Seth Bloom and Christine Gelstone are doing Airplay, a wonderful clown show, beautiful, but they have their own crew. And they have worked together long enough that it keeps it all glued together.
What about hecklers?
I was thinking about that because I'm in a circus right now, Cirque de Bohème in Sonoma.
Ooh.
And I really enjoy improvising with the audience and dealing. I think that's one of the most important qualities of a clown, is being able to acknowledge what is actually happening. And I kind of, to a limit, kind of welcome a little bit of that play, because I think it can be a gift. But one thing I've been thinking about a lot is children hecklers. Because it's really tricky. I did a show last weekend, actually, where I play this very pompous character that goes through a change throughout the show. And the goal is to make him, kind of a dick, but in a likable, kind of like you feel sorry for him way. And there was this thing where this character is laughing at me on stage, and I'm telling this character not to laugh at me on stage. And so the kids start laughing just naturally at this. And so my character stopped laughing, and the kids had continued laughing, so I addressed it, and I started talking to the kids, which got a way bigger reaction because I was acknowledging what was happening. But then I opened this door where the kids were like, oh, if we laugh, it's funny because he gets upset. So they start laughing harder, and it's now with that fake, like, ha 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 laugh. And I'm dealing with it, and I'm actually dealing with it in a way that is making people laugh, but then there's a point where the show's got to continue, and they're children, and it's a children's show, so you can't address it in the same way you would squash a heckler in an adult-only show, which I love that stuff. We got to do that a lot over the summer. We got to do that a lot over the summer with Flame Creek Circus, but and so I'm like, finally I'm like, well, like looking down to the children, the show's only an hour and 20, so if we could wrap this up, that would be great, which got a laugh. But then throughout the rest of the show, every time I would come out, they're like, ha 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 ha, and I was bound by my technical, like there was things I had to do as an MC to keep the story rolling, and it was the show that we were paying a videographer a lot of money to be at, and my act was coming up, and so it's just, it's so tricky with children hecklers. You're like, you want to encourage it, but you also want to be in control of it.
Well, and that they're the hardest to control. I love arguing with children. It's one of my favorite things. I get to use a degree of clown in my day gig, and a lot of that is arguing with children and setting them up to be wrong and to argue with me and to fail. I'm like, you guys look a lot alike. You look enough alike to be related. Do you like cousins or something? Whenever I get twins, so we can argue for 10 or 15 minutes about whether or not they are related or just identical cousins.
Natasha is a master at dealing with kids. The three of us, Natasha, Jamie, and I, did a show about recycling through Circus Center many years ago. And man, if those kids, she knows like how to deal with kids, like when there's little hecklers and stuff.
Do you?
Yeah.
Sometimes I do.
Yeah, she
just stops the play sometimes. If you have to, you'll just like get down and be like, look, kid.
And
Don't crush my dream.
Don't fuck this up for me. This is my opus.
Archetype! Behind that beautiful, gentle smile. I want to put him in the front lines.
Yeah. I've learned somehow to redirect, to take their attention away from that thing and make something else more interesting, or find a new game that is one that I want them to play rather than the game that they want to play.
Yeah.
But that takes craft.
Yeah.
Well, Natasha also, I just worked with Natasha, and she helped direct my current solo clown act in the circus I'm in. And we talked, it's an audience participatory piece, and she was talking to me about the way I was pulling the imaginary, because I've been rehearsing in my living room to like stuffed animals. So, I was practicing with her, and she was like, this may be something that you already know, and I apologize if I'm telling you something you already know. And I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, totally know this, and like furiously scribbling. But everything that she had to say about the relationship with with the audience and bringing them up, and the formulas of making them feel taken care of, and that I've got them, and that they can be comfortable up on stage with me, was just really, really amazing. And also, the more I would learn about the relationship with the audience in that way, the more I realized I do not know enough, and it's just I don't know. It's a different side of the art, I think.
I feel bad for you because the rest of us are experts. So that said, it's about time to wrap it up. Is there anything any of you guys wanted to talk about before we do?
Yeah, we have to change the world. We need to save the planet and this country.
Clown revolution.
I know
people.
I'm saying it in a way that's I don't know. I'm frenzied.
You do know.
Internally, I'm frenzied, and I feel like we can't ignore it. And it's very important, and we need to do something. So I think we need to call another roundtable and have a serious meeting.
I'm with you.
And one of the things we are doing
How's that
is on January 27th, I think, we're doing a big fundraiser for Planned Parenthood here in the city that is all clowns. So That's a thing. It's a thing. It's not the thing, but it's a thing.
Yeah, clowns are wiser than most people. We know less, but we understand more. And I think that understanding is what we're trying to spread, along with some joy. But let's get real. We were in trouble as a species.
Yeah.
There's conscious clowning and unconscious clowning, and we've got some unconscious clowns in the White House. And, I mean, in the government. Anyhow, we got to get conscious people.
Yeah.
So to wrap it up, Amelia, where can people find you online?
My website is ameliavonbrunt.com.
How do you spell that for the people listening?
AMELIA VANBRUNT.
Wonderful. And Steve Smith.
.com.
.com.
That's a period
.com.
and a COM as in monster.
And her phone number. Oh,
Yeah. Call me.
Steve, where can people find you and your work?
America's Most Wanted. I am over at Circus Center, and they can find me at steve@circuscenter.org. And this weekend is our winter showcase, so some of the clowns who just got through their first semester at the Clown Conservatory will be performing, so come on by.
And by this weekend, you mean?
Saturday and Sunday.
At?
At Circus Center at 7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. That's what I was looking for. Ross, what about you, sir?
I have a company called Antic in a Drain, and the website is www.anticinadrain.com. I'm also in a show at Kinetic Arts Center in Oakland that runs 2 more weekends. It's called Circus Veritas, and it's a lot of fun. Come get truthy with us.
And Natasha Kaluza.
I have a website that needs help. It's natashakaluza.com, but if you can help me make the website better and make sense, then reach out to me, please.
How would one spell that?
NATASHAKALUZ as in zebra a.com.
And that leaves us with Jamie Coventry.
I'm JamieCoventry.com, and I'm also CoventryandKaluza.com. Part of the Dynamic Duo, and we have an upcoming show called Mittens and Mistletoe. This is our 8th annual.
It's so good, y'all. Go to it.
And yeah, it's in the Dance Mission Theater in San Francisco.
December 22nd to the 28th.
Yes, and we are also happy to announce that we have just our first foray into fine literature. We've come out with the Little Book of Fun and Games.
Thank
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you all for joining us. It is our hope to do this roundtable every couple of weeks, maybe at least once a month. We'll see how it goes, but and also come back and join us on the channel next week where we have our conversation, not live, but our conversation with Derek McGee about being a clown and African American culture and ham bone and body percussion and a lot of stuff along those lines. All right, thank you all for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today on Ridiculous Life of a Clown. This program, as always, is made possible by your support through our Patreon, which you can find through www.picklewater.com. Also, please join us this coming January 27th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at Stageworks Theater in San Francisco for a huge circus gala featuring clowns, comedians, and burlesque dancers, all in benefit of Planned Parenthood. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.